Welcome to Permission to Thrive. I'm your host, Suzi Lula. As a spiritual therapist for over 20 years, I have the honor and privilege of ushering women and mothers just like you on a journey from simply surviving to powerfully thriving. I also have the honor of raising our son, Will, who is now a young adult, with my longtime partner, Jamie, so I'm right there on the journey with you. Consider this your personal sanctuary, your space to meet your heart, embrace your messy, and come home to your most authentic, extraordinary self. My hope is that you leave resourced and inspired because you are here to shine. Welcome to Permission to Thrive. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Permission to Thrive. We're coming up upon the 1-year anniversary of Permission to Thrive. And I want to get a little deep with you today because I know that you are here to shine. I know that you are here to thrive. I know that you are here to live your most enriched, high, inspired quality of life. And I don't want you to wait one more moment. So we're going to dive deep today into how to reverse engineer your life to ensure that you don't wait until something happens in your life to wake up, to live your highest quality of life, your most inspired quality of life now. So relax, sit back, receive. There's so much here that I want to share with you today. Just receive it all. Let it all soak in because I want to ensure that you are truly living your best life now, that you're not waiting one more day, one more month, 6 more months. I want to assist you to ensure that you are truly living your most inspired life now, your most thriving life now. So I'm going to teach you today how to reverse engineer your life to ensure that you leave today's episode inspired, on fire, expanded to live your best life, your most thriving life today. I know I want to live my life with no regrets, and I want you to live your life with no regrets as well. So that's what we're diving into today, is how to live your most thriving life with no regrets. Live regret-free. And what I want you to know is that if I can do it, you can absolutely do it. Whether it's raising your children, in your marriage, with your family, with your work, your finances, your body, I want you to live that regret-free life. So first of all, living a regret-free life has everything to do with why I named this podcast Permission to Thrive. We live in a culture that validates our doing. It encourages us that the more we do, the more worthy we are. And so often we end up in survival mode because we're doing the next thing that we think is going to bring us a sense of worthiness and peace inside of ourselves. Often because we are so encouraged in this culture that the more we do, the better we are, the better life we'll have, that we often deprive ourselves of the very thing that brings us the quality of life, that brings us the qualities that ensure that we will thrive in our life, because we're enslaved to this culture that tells you that the more you do, the better your life will be. And what I have found is exactly the opposite. When I slow down, when I create this spaciousness within myself to connect to my being and what is truly important to me, which might be different than what is important to you. But when I give myself permission to connect with what is really, truly important to me, then I set up the conditions for which that which I value can blossom and flourish. So the first thing is just to consider the title of the podcast, How can you give yourself the permission that culture does not give you? Culture is not going to give you the permission to live your life, raise your kids, be in your marriage in a way that lines up for you, because it wants you to be on that doing treadmill. So the first thing is to give yourself the permission. So before we go any further, every one of us has that ceiling, that thermometer of how much good we can receive in our life. So before we go any further, can you just allow your ceiling to expand a little, to rise a little at whatever level of good you are able to bring into your life today? Before we even leave this episode, let's raise the roof on what it is, the amount of good that we are able and give ourselves permission to receive. So first, permission to thrive. Expand our capacity to receive. Now that sets us in this expanded consciousness to receive what's next here. There has been tremendous research done on individuals as they are getting ready to pass on. Books, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, 10 Regrets of the Dying. Tremendous research has been done with individuals who are getting ready to pass on. Some of the biggest regrets that individuals have: I wish I had allowed myself to live my authentic life. I wish I had allowed myself to live my authentic life, to be true to myself and not live my life the way that I thought others wanted me to live. Does that resonate with you? Can you relate to that? Living your own most authentic life the way you have come here to live, rather than the way you think others around you want you to live. Another big regret of the dying: I wish I had worked less and created more connected relationships with those that I love. I wish I had worked less and created a richer quality of life, quality of relationships with those that I love. I wish I had spent more time, invested more time and energy on really allowing myself to love. At the end of our lives, we are going to look back, and the question we are mostly going to ask ourselves is, how much did I love? How much love did I give? But also, how much love did I allow myself to receive from others? So I'm going to just slow this down for a moment so you could really envision yourself. There is going to come a day when you are going to ask yourself, how much did I allow myself to love? How invested in my relationships was I? How much love, how much good did I give myself permission to receive? How vulnerable did I allow myself to get with myself and others around me? How much vulnerability did I share? How much humanity did I share with those around me? That is such a different feeling tone. It's such a different energy than the doing treadmill that we get validated for. So just feel that contrast. You're getting validated by culture, how much you do, as opposed to how much love did I give? How much good did I receive? How vulnerable was I able to be with those that I love the most? How vulnerable were those that I love the most able to be with me? Was I a safe space? Was I even invested in my doing? Did I allow myself to have those vulnerable conversations and connections? This is our humanity. This is when we get to the end of our lives, we see that we've missed so much of our humanity. And this is what I don't want you to miss: one moment of your humanity. So far, regrets of the dying we have: I wish I had allowed myself to live my own authentic life the way that I was meant to live it, without caring so much about what I think others want me to live, how I think others want me to live. Second, I wish I had worked less and invested more into the quality of my relationships, the connections with those that I love, my ability to love, my capacity to receive and be vulnerable and feel that humanity, because one day we're not going to be able to feel that humanity anymore. We want to grab it while we're here. We want to soak it in while we're here. We want to dive into the deep end of the ocean of vulnerability and love and connection and intimacy while we're here. Another big regret of the dying is I wish I had allowed myself to enjoy my life more, to simplify my life, to accept and to see that the simple life that I was living was more than enough, that it was actually rich and abundant, that I had everything that I needed. I wish I had allowed myself to receive more of the good, because when you get ready to pass on or pass over into your next existence, when you drop the body and move on, you're going to realize how much good is here in this world that we just deprived ourselves of, didn't give ourselves the permission to allow ourselves to soak it in, to experience. So again, I want to just slow this down for a moment, and I want you to just ask yourself, what good is in your life right now that perhaps you are denying yourself of, you are depriving yourself of? Because as we are indoctrinated into the validation of that doing treadmill, we also then project that into all of our relationships. Maybe you're raising your children and their doing is becoming so much more important than your connection with them, with their being. Because when I'm on the doing treadmill, then I project that onto those around us. Perhaps I project it into my marriage or with Will. So when I give myself permission, as those who are passing on are wishing that they had given themselves more time to simplify and to enjoy the life that they have, can you imagine right now giving yourself a little bit of permission to enjoy the very life that you are living right now, to enjoy your connections with those around you, to truly enjoy what is right there in front of you? Just imagine how your life would expand to the degree that you give yourself permission to enjoy the life that you have, is to the degree that the very life you're living right now will be enriched. So give yourself a moment to contemplate. I see those who are passing on, they wished they had lived their own most authentic life. They wished they had worked less and connected more. They wish they had given themselves permission to enjoy and receive the good that is around them. And how might you be depriving yourself of the good that is around you in your life right now? So before we go any further, just imagine 1, 2, 3 things that are in your life right now, without even doing anything different. Something that is in your life that you can allow yourself to enjoy. Something that is in your life that is possible right now that perhaps you're depriving yourself of, you're denying yourself of. It's right there in front of you. That alone is a takeaway, but I'm only at the beginning. We have a far distance to go. But I want you to be, wow, what is right here in front of me that I might be denying myself of? I might be depriving myself of, which is putting me more in the survival lane of life rather than the thriving lane of life. So if you are depriving yourself of something, you are also depriving yourself of thriving. So what might be right in front of you? You know, the Dalai Lama says, or I read in an interview with him, that the Dalai Lama says every morning he meditates as if today is the last day of his life. And I personally find that So inspiring. What if today was the last day of my life? What if today was the last day of your life? What regrets might you have? Would you have regrets? It's very important and valid to ask yourself, what might be the regrets that you would have? Because once you become aware of the regrets you might have, you come into dominion to shift and change and transform those regrets. So what regrets might you have? I can honestly tell you, I don't have many regrets right now. Why? Because I read this interview with the Dalai Lama probably 20 years ago. And every morning in my meditation, every evening in my meditation, it's one of the questions I ask myself. What if today was the last day of my life? How would I want to live this day? What is important to me today? What do I want to bring in today? It's a very powerful question to ask yourself each day. What if today was the last day of your life? Because what we all have in common is that none of us know what day will be the last day of our lives. We don't know whether it will be today, tomorrow, 20 years, 40 years, 60 years. I hope I have 60 more years left, 70 more years, but we don't know. And so what we do know is I can bring today what is important to me, what is valuable to me. So in order to reverse engineer your life so that today becomes the richest day of your life, the most enriched day of your life, you start with the end of your life and work backwards. Well, if today was the last day of my life, what would be my regrets? What are the things that I want to ensure that I transform and shift and change? Those regrets can be so important because they can assist us to wake up, to transform, to ensure that we transform these things, we shift, we change, we grow, we evolve, so that those regrets are repaired. There is nothing more powerful than repairing a regret. So you start by asking yourself, if today was the last day of my life, what might I regret? It brings you so much power, so much dominion, because then you can shift and change and grow and evolve. And then the second thing is to clarify, well, if those would be my regrets, let's clarify what is important today. What is important in my life? What are the most important qualities and values I have, so that if today is the last day of my life, I have infused my day with the qualities and values that are important to me. So I want you to begin to clarify, what are the values? What is important to you, that when you get to the end of your life, if you have infused your life with just a few qualities, I have probably only 3, maybe 4 qualities, values that are important to me. I keep it so simple. I have a few, they aren't necessarily easy to always infuse into my life, but I find that those few things that are important to me allows me to focus each day. Am I investing in these values? Am I infusing my relationships with the things that I say are important to me? So for me, the few high values that I have, I think my highest value is my spirituality, connection, my connection with my spirit, my connection with my soul, my connection with that inspired life, my connection with that transcendent life, that energy that is greater, larger than I am, more abundant, more infinite, limitless than I am. Connection is by far my highest value. So connection to my spirit, my soul, connection to my true nature. I want to be connected every day to my authentic nature. Going back to the regrets of the dying, wishing that we had lived a more authentic life. I want to each day invest in who am I authentically? Who authentically is Suzi Lula? Not the things that I think others want me to be or ways that I think others want me to live my life, but who is Suzi Lula authentically? So I want to have that connection to my higher self, my spirit, my wise woman self. I want to have the connection also with my most authentic self and allow her to shine, allow her to come out, allow her to take up space. So connection to my higher self, my wise woman self, connection to my authentic self, and then connection to those who I love. Jamie, Will, all of you, my clients, my students, my friends. I have grown to love and respect and admire, acknowledge each one of you. So you've become important to me. So this connection between us is important to me. So connection is for sure my highest value. And then my quality of life. How can I enjoy the life that I have right now, whether it's taking a walk in nature, that connection to nature that connects us to that which is greater than ourselves, that connection. It's like I'm thinking of Thoreau and Emerson and Walden Pond and how that connection to nature was their everything, right? And so this quality of life, the quality of life, whether it's taking a 10-minute walk in nature, whether it's having a 10-minute conversation with my best girlfriend, whether it is connecting right now with all of you, like this is the highest quality of life I can possibly imagine because it's what I'm doing right now. How can I be so invested in the quality of life that I am living right now? So connection, quality of life, and then the third thing I think would be purpose, living on purpose. How can I allow my life to be meaningful, to contribute to others? How can I use the transformation and the life experiences that I've moved through, and how can I pay them forward? How can I use it as good for others? So living a life of purpose, living a life of meaning. I think my life coming down to those three things: connection, quality of life, and living a life of purpose and meaning. And I can tell you that connection being my highest value, you are going to have your own, right? But connection being my highest value, what that did for me was it ensured that every day I was transforming. I was not wanting to show up as the wounded parts of my past. So it allowed me and allows me still every day to do something, take some action, some practices that ensure that I am transforming every day of my life, that I am not the Suzi Lula that was here 3 months ago or 3 years ago, to practice the practices that assist me to transform. And what that did for me then was when I got married, but specifically when I had my son Will, because connection is my highest value, it ensured that I was going to transform and break the generational patterns that came before me, that generational energy that I was starting to bring and project onto his life. That connection being such a high value of mine was the thing that ensured that actually I would transform because my connection with Will was so important to me. My connection with Will took precedent over what grades he got, what schools he went to. And even recently, he's in college now, recently when he was considering not staying in college, that was huge for me because I had been raised to be such an advocate of education and higher learning and higher education. But connection, my connection to my son trumped whether he stayed in school or not. What did that do? It had me transform from my old limited way of thinking and being and the box that I was in, because my connection with him trumped everything else. It was my connection with him is more important than whether he would get a college degree or not. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't have conversations, but the conversations come from an expanded space where I am transformed. And so there's more than enough space for both of us to have our differing opinions and keep our connection, which is the most important thing. I am definitely simplifying a very layered process, but I'm just wanting to illustrate and describe to you all that when you are clear on the things that matter to you the most, everything else then is a reflection. Everything else mirrors what is important to you. So we want to clarify the 2, 3, 4 most important values that you hold dear in your heart, that when you get to the end of your life, you will look back and say, I was true to that which was important to me. And yours might not be connection. Yours may be something vastly different. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you get clear what's important to me, and then you live your life according to what is important to you. That's why I like to have only 1, 2, 3, 4 simple things that I continually go back to. Am I living on purpose today? Am I being of service today? I can ask that question and do ask that question every day of my life. Am I being of high service on this podcast? Am I giving my best to you all, that you may walk away with something that could potentially be life-changing for you, because I want to be of service today? Am I being of high service to Will today? Am I being of high service to my clients, to my students, to my girlfriends, to my friends, to all of you? Am I being of high service to Jamie? Am I being of high service today in my life? So I have these few qualities: connection, quality of life, being on purpose, and I come back to them each day. Am I invested truly into what is truly meaningful for me? Now, when we decide to reverse engineer our life, the way we do that is you ask yourself, what are your 3 or 4 qualities? What are your 3 or 4 values? So right now, get clear on your 3 or 4 values, and then just choose one for the rest of the podcast, the rest of this episode. Let's just choose one thing. I might choose being of service or connection, one thing. And then first you write all of them down. And then you ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I with that? So let's say I chose being of service. On a scale of 1 to 10, where am I on that? And the number, I promise you, the number is irrelevant. If I told you on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 2, I'm at a 3, don't judge the number. The number is great. It's an indicator. So if I said to you, in my life, living a life of purpose, I'm at a 2 or a 3, the great thing about that is it sets you up to ask yourself now, what is one small, tiny, minuscule action that I can take that would move me from a 2 to a 3, that would move that needle of living on purpose from a 3 to a 4. So you have your one quality, your one value that if you invest in, you will live regret-free. You have your one value, you have your number, and now you ask yourself, what is one tiny small? It's got to be small. Why? Because if it's too big, you're not going to do it. So if you're not trying to get yourself from a 2 to a 10, because that will feel far too vast of a journey. You're just trying to get from a 2 to a 3, a 4 to a 5, an 8 to a 9. You accept yourself where you are, and then ask, what is one tiny, small step, action that you can take today to invest, to move that needle from a 2 to a 3 to a 6, from a 6 to a 7. Is that clear? So let's take a moment, slow it down, I want you to just think, what is something, it's got to be something so small that you'll actually do it. So let's just say you're wanting to live a more purposeful life, more meaning, and you want to begin to coach clients, but you're not a coach yet. So being a coach is too large. The step needs to be explore different coaching programs, of which I have one. What if one of your values is to repair a really fractured relationship with one of your children or an in-law or a sibling, and it's a very fractured relationship? So if you're at a 2, then maybe your small step is just to reach out and text them. Or maybe your small step is, I need to do some inner work to even get myself to the place where I want to text them. So it's got to be a small step that you can take today that will not overwhelm you. It's very important. So please give yourself the grace. We are so taught in our culture that bigger is better. And you got to get to that 10. I'm telling you, the smallest step will be your most powerful step. Why? Because you'll actually take the step. If you have a 3-year-old, you are not going to put that 3-year-old on a 2-wheel bike yet. You're going to put that 3-year-old on a tricycle. And then when that 3-year-old gets really good at riding that tricycle really fast, maybe you get them a 2-wheel bike with training wheels. And then you put them on with those training wheels till they get really secure with those training wheels. And then you take the training wheels off. And even then, they're going to fall off that bike and get back on. Fall off, get back on. So please hear, this is not about perfection. This is about moving your own needle from one number to the next number. So you have your own values, might be different from mine, but we want clarity. You want clarity first, and then you want to just jot down one that you want to invest in and what is one small action step you can take. And then the last part is to begin to envision your life. Who are you when you take that one simple step today? When Will was going through a really hard time and deciding whether to stay in college or not, the tiniest steps that I would take would be, how can I go be private with myself so that I can be relaxed with whatever choice he makes? I leaned into Jamie a lot. We had a lot of conversations. These were small steps that when I took them, I felt a sense of well-being when I went back into conversation with him. So envision yourself. Who are you? What is that quality of life when you start taking those tiny, small steps to the things that matter most to you in your life? When I am invested, how do I transform? When I am invested, when I am taking those small steps, how do I transform? How does my nervous system relax? How will I expand from the inside out? And envision your energy relaxing. Envision your nervous system relaxing. Envision yourself expanding from the inside out. How will I feel when I invest to a small degree on the thing that matters most to me? How will I feel about myself? What will I focus on? How will my focus shift and change when I'm invested in what really matters to me? When I am focused and invested on my connection with Will or my connection with Jamie, then I ask myself, how will my focus shift and change? It will shift and change away from what grades he's making and onto what's really important to me, our connection. So you're asking yourself, when you are invested in that which is so important to you, how will your own focuses shift and change? You will stop focusing on what doesn't matter, and you will begin to focus on what really matters to you. If your child's grades are really important to you because achievement and education is really important to you, then that is what you focus on. But other things will shift and change because you're focused on what is truly in alignment with what is important to you. So you're not here to take what's important to me. You're here to find your own, but ask yourself, how will my focus shift and change on the outside when I am connected and invested to what is truly important to me on the inside? And then you ask yourself, how will my outer relationships shift and change when I shift and change my focus and invest in what's truly important to me now? How will those outer relationships shift and change? How will my outer relationships thrive and grow and be enriched and be more meaningful? What is so important to me that I won't even waste one more day? What is so important to me that I won't even wait one more day? What are the small steps that I want to take today, that I sincerely want to take? What is the direction that I sincerely want to move in? How good can my life be now when I move in that direction? And what is just one small thing? I'm thinking of a client session I had a couple of weeks ago with a father, a dad, and he was talking to me about how he really struggles with when to insist upon something, like what his son, he has a toddler, what pajamas he'll wear, whether he's going to brush his teeth that night. And he was truly conflicted, and it is a conflict inside of ourselves. Do I have a power struggle and control over whether my child is going to brush their teeth tonight? Or do I just have a pleasant night with my child? And he was grappling with this, and grappling is important. It's part of what our soul does. Our soul grapples. And so as he was grappling with whether it's important that his son sleep with his pajamas on or off, diaper on or off, these things, when he was able to bring it back to, at the end of my life, when I look back at my relationship with my son, what is going to have been important to me? And so we were asking this question, even in the midst of grappling, because it is important for our kids to learn to brush their teeth. And it is important. Certain things are important. So as he was grappling with this, the next week when he came back, he was saying, even just asking himself the question, I call it going to the mountaintop, going to the 30,000-foot elevation. When I get to the end of my life and I look back, was it really going to matter that night whether he slept in pajamas, had his diaper on or off, wet the bed, didn't wet the bed? Now, on certain other moments or days, yes, you might be in a space in your life where, yeah, if he wets the bed tonight, I don't have the rubber mattress pad on, so that's going to matter. So I am going to insist tonight. But my point is, when you allow yourself to rise to the mountaintop, when you allow yourself to go to the 30,000-foot elevation, when you allow yourself to go to the end of your life, or I often think, one day Will is going to be 25, 30, 40, 50. Is this moment going to be important? And how can I make this moment important and an ingredient of adding to the quality of life rather than taking away from the quality of life? So even in these very small moments, you create a habit of elevating yourself to the mountaintop. Things take on a certain perspective of what is truly important and meaningful in this life. And it does put things in perspective, and it allows us to live with a more relaxed nervous system, with a more expanded context of what is important to us. What will it feel like to look back and see that I am living regret-free, that I did live according to what is meaningful to me, that I did live my own authentic life in the way I was meant to live it, that I did begin to care less about what other people thought and more about what I thought of myself, to do less, to connect more, to allow myself to receive and enjoy life and enjoy and receive the good that is right here in front of me right now. To see yourself embodying this one small step that you can take, and how this one small step will seed an entire garden that will flourish and blossom and bloom. A regret-free life is created one small, meaningful step at a time. One small, meaningful step creates the most beautiful, thriving, blossoming, flourishing garden. So give yourself a moment to relax, exhale, begin to come into clarity about what is meaningful to you. Focus in on one thing. Ask yourself what one step you can take, and then envision how it is going to enrich the totality of your life right now, because I want you to live a regret-free life. Just as a review, let's all take a deep breath in. I know I said a lot. I hope you have a lot to grapple with yourself. I hope it gives you a lot to contemplate and think about and find meaning in. So I'm going to give you just a recap, a little bit of a review as we complete just for today. We don't want to wait until something happens. We want to proactively today, before this episode is even over, choose in, choose thriving, choose shining, choose blossoming, choose expansion, choose to live a regret-free life that is so authentically reflective of who you are and who you came here to be. Don't be the mom that someone else told you to be, or the mom or the dad or the parent or the spouse that society is telling you to be. Dig deep into your own heart. There's an authentic woman, an authentic man, an authentic parent, an authentic spouse, an authentic spiritual being within you that has come to live in a certain kind of a way. Get in touch with that being. So don't wait one more day. Connect and become clear with what is important to you, what small actions you can take towards what is important to you, and then envision who you are and how your life expands when you are true to yourself. So I'm so grateful to be with you all. I hope this episode gives you a lot of takeaways that is rich for your life, meaningful and valuable for you. And if it does, I would so appreciate if you would pass this episode forward to someone that you care about, someone that you would like to see thriving. Perhaps it's someone that is struggling in their life and they're just surviving and they need a little bit of inspiration. If you pass it forward, you have no idea how it assists us to contribute to a world where we are all giving ourselves permission to thrive. If you would write a 5-star review, I would be so grateful. And happy 1-year anniversary, whether you are new to Permission to Thrive, just putting your toe in the water, giving yourself that permission to live your best life, or whether you've been here, part or the whole journey, I'm so deeply grateful to you. Give yourself permission to thrive this week, and I'll see you next week. Much love, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If there was something in this conversation that spoke to you, we'd so appreciate it if you would take the time to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share this episode with women and mothers you know, because you are here to thrive. See you next time.